Hi, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Infinite Horizon. First of all, welcome back, Drac. Good to see you.
It's good to be back and do that rest day.
Hell
We
yeah,
missed you.
yeah, we definitely did. No, I think we all needed that lighter day. I think so. But we're back today with a full length episode of Infinite Horizon. So yeah. Before we get into that, though, just some quick little reminders of stuff. So we are currently really I think the only thing we have going right now is that we are currently working towards our November donation goal. Which you can see in the bar down there at the bottom of the screen. We are working currently towards a Rule of Lore Community Among Us night, which will be held in the Discord and very chaotic. I promise you, it will be chaos. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So if you at any point during this feel like you want to support what we're doing there, you can donate to that goal and be part of a horrifying, chaotic space stab fest. It'll be lots of fun. Um, yeah, that's what we're working on right now. I Freeman, I genuinely like. I've been sort of like out of contact for like a week, so like, am I
Oh yeah,
forgetting
so
anything?
just that we'll be rambling on Friday at 7 p.m.
That's
PST.
right.
We're in PST now. I hate
We
it. I
are.
just hate this whole illusion of time and everything. But yeah, we'll be rambling on Ramblemancy with a topic to be announced. We'll just be
Actually,
rambling.
I think we did decide, didn't we?
I mean, we'll probably do some. We'll talk about Skyrim nostalgia, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my
which is
gosh.
one of my favorite things
Nice.
personally.
Because it's
So,
not
yeah.
only because it's that time of year, but also because tomorrow is the 10-year anniversary
It
of
is. Oh, it
Skyrim's
is.
release.
Is it really?
It
Oh man, I
is.
gotta play it tomorrow.
Yep. So we will be talking about Skyrim for a non-0% of that show.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, tune in for that. I think just as a quick announcement, a quick reminder, our latest Patreon tabletop tool chest just went up. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Freeman, but I believe it was science fantasy NPCs.
That is correct. We've got some science fantasy NPCs for you to run amok in your worlds now, if you'd like, or your stories. It'll be they're a lot of fun. They're really cute. I like them.
Yeah. So go check that out. I think that's all we have for stream stuff, except I do have one announcement, and that is that at some point in the very near future, we will have an announcement.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love
We
those.
love to announce an announcement here on
It's
So,
clickbait.
yeah, at this point, it's just part of like our process. It started out as a
Yep.
joke, but now I think it's just part of our process. We announce the fact that we will be announcing something soon. Not soon TM, to clarify, like actually soon. So, yeah. We will have that for you very soon. Keep an eye out.
Think you'll like it.
Yeah, I think so too. That's all I think I've got for Rule of Lore stuff. Anyone else have some stuff that they want to get shouted out right at the top of our stream?
Sundays, queue times, power play, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're halfway through now, I think, season 4, which is nuts.
Truly.
Last episode.
Such a good episode. Yeah, if you watch
I
any
messaged
episode of Power Play,
Caitlin
go
as I
watch
was
the
watching
latest
it.
one.
I messaged Caitlin as I was watching. I was like, "What?" Because I was gonna message. I was like, "Let me watch last episode so I can tell you like what Will would have what Will might have said." And then when I watched and saw what happened, I was like, "I don't know what the fuck Will would say to this. Like what?"
It's a lot. It's very exciting. Yeah, so go watch that show.
If you want to have any context whatsoever, go watch
for
Power
a
Play.
vague, no spoilers freak out, yeah. And I don't know, not really an announcement, but exciting for me. I'm gonna start talking about the game that I wrote on Twitter more, because my goal is to get it out and playable by early 2022. It'll just depend on my workload, but I started talking about it a little bit more today. So if you like theoretically not super crunchy storytelling games about immortality, boy, do I have news for you. So I have a game called Amaranthine that I'm working on and started talking about a little bit more in earnest online today. So keep an eye out. I might have like playtester opportunities in the next couple months. So
It's
I'm excited about
it's
it.
very cool, and the last time that I saw it, it wasn't even close to done yet. So like, it's probably fucking amazing now.
I'm excited.
Finally, one day I can play Twilight game designed by Caitlin.
Thing is,
My
it's possible.
dream
Yep.
in the system.
I just want to play the old guard. I'm gonna be real honest. I just want to.
Yeah, that's good too.
100% gonna be the old guard.
Not similar.
It's
It's
I also
very
I
much based on it.
I had the realization this weekend because my plan is I'm gonna have a couple of like options for reskins, like demigods, vampires. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons you could be immortal. But I was like, I realized after talking about that, I was like, oh my god, you could play a What We Do in the Shadows game in this system.
Yeah.
That has to happen at some point. Someone,
That's the
if I'm not
teaser.
involved, fine, but someone needs to play What We Do in the Shadows game in that system. Anyways,
Yes.
I'm excited. Keep an eye out. I'm gonna be talking about it more.
Awesome.
It's so good. My announcements. The only one that is really cool, like I guess not cool. They're all cool. I'm very excited about all the games I'm playing, but the one I'm very excited about is on Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. I'm over on Q Times as well, fellow Q Timer. I'm over on Q Times as well with Parliament of Owls, our Pathfinder Second Edition All Villains campaign. We had the premiere of season 2 last week. We're having such the second episode this week, and I'm very excited for that. Also, if Villain's not your cup of tea, over on Stella Luna's channel, they have a D&D campaign called Unbound, and I've guested on it a few times. I'm not going to be physically guessing on it then, but I recorded a thing that's going to be played during the episode. I played, I've talked about it on Twitter already. I played Kronos, the God of Time. So there's gonna be a little video from Kronos for the cast, which is gonna be very, very cool. So if you want to watch that, that's over on Stella Luna at 9 p.m. Eastern, I believe. Yes.
Hell yeah. Also, very important. I know Drax here and can do it now, but also follow Remy on Twitter.
Yes, I have it ready. I have it ready. Copy and paste. Wait, god damn
Incredible.
it.
There's a command now too, so
I don't know. It's not the same, you know. I
That's
want to
fair,
have the whole
that's fair.
journey of going to the copy and paste it.
you know what? That's
Fair
fair.
enough.
I would never take that away from you, Drax.
Right?
All right, everybody. Well, if that's everything, we'll get into tonight's episode of Infinite Horizon. See you in a second.
Space.
And we're back. All right. So, previously on Infinite Horizon, in order to build alliances for the Resistance, the crew cut a deal with the syndicate known as the Usurpers. In exchange for the syndicate's aid taking Sulon back from corporate occupation, the crew promised a deal with a rival syndicate backed by corrupt regulators. Though Mason had few remaining contacts in the Regulators, his old commanding officer, Sergeant Harold Iselik, was stationed on a nearby Regulator ship, giving the crew a place to start. While Teon and Ada Sprix investigated a communications relay that might get them more information, the rest of the crew resupplied from the Usurpers' stores, met with Miris and their leader, and collected Riot before heading back to Wire's ship to prepare for the mission. Peach contacted Vix and learned that Oneira had been in system when their mother disappeared. Promising to return to the crew as soon as his tasks on Anzalon Prime were complete, Vix left the call, and Peach, now troubled by the disturbing connections, prepared herself for their new mission. And that is where we left off. So, diving back in to this this particular evening's episode, we're gonna start with Taeyeon, Taeyeon and Ada. So we're gonna start basically from, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this right now, Drag. I'm not gonna need you to spend for this, because I've sort of imposed it on you. So
Yeah.
we're gonna start with literally you, Taeyeon, and Ada Sprix just teleporting onto a relay station. This you would have been given like precise coordinates for it, so like you would have had the ability to do this. So let me get something set up here real quick while I so okay, you just sort of appear in a service corridor. These relays are not stations, and they are uncrewed. They are intended only to operate as long range transmitters for data and communications. As you appear very suddenly in this service corridor, it's very cramped in here because its entire purpose is for maintenance. And as you appear, you see the whole corridor is lit pretty much exclusively by like that soft reddish maintenance lighting. They are set very far apart, and also the soft glow of Ada Sprix's natural Orzai bioluminescence. As she looks around, she sort of takes a step away from you and opens up her terminal and starts kind of looking. Says, "Okay, so I think I just need to access the mainframe. Once from there, I should be able to cut through any security protocols that are here, and download, well, anything and everything that's in the cache."
Okay. Do we know where the mainframe is from the schematics we have? I'm gonna pull up
Yeah.
his schematics as well.
Sure. As you're looking at it, you can see both of you kind of notice it at the same time as you're looking through. She goes, that way. She kind of points past you. I think it's that way.
Okay. I'll be honest, it's kind of odd that it's entirely unmanned. What kind of security system are we looking at?
Well,
Possible turrets, just cameras?
In general, these kinds of relay beacons are usually patrolled by ships belonging to whatever faction's territory they happen to be in. Out here, hard to say.
Okay.
Internal security systems are probably going to be limited to long-range distress beacons and alarms, but so we'll have to keep an eye out for those. Be wary of tripping those, but otherwise, I think we should be okay.
Okay. I'll go ahead. I don't know, just to make sure. I don't know. I feel weird about this, but yeah. And he's gonna take the lead, I suppose. To very on guard, despite the fact that he's been reassured this entire time there's nothing to be on guard of, at least not people-wise anyway. But yeah, he's kind of like turning corners and making sure no one's there or no. And to keep an eye out for cameras and stuff as well, and anything to trip as well.
Yeah.
Because the last thing they need is people on their tail after this.
Yeah. As you kind of begin kind of crawling through the maintenance hatchways, and like some of it, like it's intended to be navigable by people of any, like, it's the design of most maintenance corridors is to accommodate the varying physiques of species across the galaxy. However, they are also still maintenance ducts, which means that there are places where even Taeyeon has to sort of like squeeze through, kind of like crouch down, duck under, squeeze through. And yeah, as you're kind of crawling through one of these passages, you can kind of hear the kind of short and kind of reserved breaths of Ada behind you as she kind of moves. And at one point, she goes, "So, how are you doing?" We haven't really had much opportunity to check in. No time like right now when I literally have you trapped with nowhere to go.
Kind of like sighs when she when she says that, and just kind of there's a moment of silence, and he just goes, I mean, I guess there's not much point in lying. I'm not really doing great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Sorry about what?
For taking it out on you, for cutting you out of, I guess, us. We're a team, and I thought I could take it on myself, and now I'm realizing that not only is that a disservice to me, it's honestly a bit of an insult to you.
Well, I wasn't fishing for any of that.
Did you hear what happened yesterday? I'm saying yesterday. Did you hear what? Sorry, I don't know how much time has passed since the whole being wire.
Oh yeah, that probably would have been like by this point that
Day
would
before?
definitely have been the day before, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, did you hear what happened yesterday?
Only in passing. Zaya did not give me many details.
We've been working in this whole field, I suppose, for a while, and what I saw anyway from why was a prime example of someone just taking everything on their own, and thinking they can handle it. And having seen that a lot, I thought for some reason that I would be able to recognize that if it was happening to me. But I think seeing Wire, probably one of the strongest appearing people in this time at the very least, break like that, it made me realize if I end up keeping this to myself, holding it in, I would end up just being a detriment to everyone else as well. I've already hurt you a lot.
The thing is, oh, watch your step. She yeah, okay, yeah, just get around. Good, okay.
Yep.
The thing is, I understood. I knew what was going on. I probably know better than most of the others. Thing is that, quite frankly, there's no reason for you to jump in front of this particular projectile. Because the reality is, it's too much for you, and it'll just take out everyone else anyway. It'll still splash. I was just hoping that this time would be different. That this time, you'd let other people carry some of it.
I think I'm still learning. After our last conversation, I had a lot to think about, and I think I still do. But I think right now, at the very least, I know that I'm very much in the wrong, and I hope I'm able to make it up to you at some point.
Yeah. Well, oh, here. I think it's right here. And you look, and there is like a maintenance hatch that she goes up to it and plugs in like hard wires into the from their terminal into the hatch. She says, "Okay, give me 1 second." And oh, no. Okay, no, there's nothing here. Give me 1 second.
No. Okay.
And done. As she as you're watching, literally like right in front of you, it says the words "done," and just you see the hatch just slide open, revealing not like a room or anything like that, but literally just sort of like just what appears to be some kind of advanced server or something, which she then disconnects, reconnects, like hardwires in, and this is okay. And just give me 1 second to slice the security protocols. Yeah. Done. Great. And she just kind of like leans back, just sort of like wedges herself into the like alcove, and then just sort of like squats. And says, "All right, this is gonna take a second."
Yeah. Apparently it took you like 2 to open the door.
Yeah,
getting
the
rusty?
actual. I'm pretty sure the actual download process will take longer than cutting the security, but.
Okay. He's just gonna like sit down as well, just cross-legged with his like gun on his lap.
Just looks at you and just says, "Tan, you have a team for a reason. You are always talking about you back home. You were always talking about how we needed to pull together, work together, and everything. But the thing is, you're not exempt from that. We either are a team or we're not. You can't have it both ways."
The thing is, I'm not entirely sure who or what I would be, I guess, like you said, without a war to fight, something to throw myself into.
I understand. I'm not sure I do either. It's terrifying. It's all we've ever known. It's how we grew up. It's the world we grew up in. But I was hoping, and I kind of hoped you did too, that one day we'd be able to figure that out.
I do. There's no one, honestly, no one I want to figure out more with than you. I think I'm just scared that there is nothing to figure out for me. I'm scared that there isn't anyone outside of Taeon, the squad leader, the resistance fighter, the one who went back to warn the crew of the Awakener. And I think seeing the crew, Bina, Mason, Peach, seeing that they had lives before, I can't imagine what mine could have been or will be.
Yeah. I understand that. Well, after all this is over, because we will finish it this time, after all this is over, I would like to help you however I can find that Taeon. And then we'll get to know him together.
I think Taeon has his helmet on, but Ada absolutely just feels a wave of like relief, but also just he's crying, as I guess that's what I can really say.
Yeah.
He's crying for sure, but just says, thank you, and I want to help you find the Ada outside of this as well.
We'll find them. Oh, looks like we are done. And they reach over and disconnect. Back in, it's like, whew, that is a lot of data to go through.
How long do you think it'll take you?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Depends on the compression ratio. Hours, days, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to set up a couple of algorithms to help me. That'll take a couple of hours in and of itself, but I'll sift through it and try to decode it and see if I can get anything useful to you. I think we're pretty much done here. If you want to take us back, you can probably still catch the rest of the crew.
Yeah, I think probably haven't taken. Actually, can I tell if they've moved or not? Or
as far as what you know, the plan was, at this point in time, they would probably be on their way out. Like, they probably will be on their way, but like with a stop and an intentional relaying of exact coordinates, you could easily like get to them.
Okay, yeah. So I'd like ping them, just being like done, just to let them know so they can send me their coordinates. And once it does come, I'm gonna reach out a hand to Ada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you mind?
Not at all. Never. And she reaches out and like takes your hand.
And I'm gonna bamf us into the ship.
Okay. So cutting from that, we will cut back to where the crew of Awakeners will. If there's anything that you want to do before leaving, we'll jump back in time very briefly, before everybody comes back together. But if not, we can just jump straight there.
I mean, it doesn't need a scene, but Bina would definitely be buzzing around trying to get everything prepped, like ship-wise. But that's really just
Fair enough. Yeah.
in the background of any other scene that might happen is Bina like.
Something that I'd like to do is I would like to I know I haven't used this power in a while, but I want to I want to get an eye on Sulan. I want to use distant viewing to try to see like what's going on Sulan with the corporate control. Like I kind of want to look into maybe like the government building that we were in to kind of like hear what's going on. I think that would be a good point. Would there be any other points that would be good to listen in on that like where I could maybe glean some information that we had been on Sulan?
And this was distance viewing, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it lets me create like a sensor for an hour in a location that I've been or seen.
Right.
And it doesn't grant me any like extra sensor powers, but I just get to like hear and view it.
Sure. Yeah.
And if it's like worded or something, you can make me make a roll for it, but
Gotcha, yeah. Unlikely that there would be anything like that at Sulan, so I think it kind of just happens. And so you said specifically where again?
Well, first I was thinking like the governmental building, like maybe like a meeting space that we had been in, like somewhere where I would expect there to be like, things going on that I could kind of listen in on, or if there's any other location that like Peach would have been to. Like I can't quite think of one, but if there's one on Sulan, that would be a good place to look into to get information on the corp movements.
Yeah, I mean, like the place that, unless you're kind of just trying to get like general information, then like basically anywhere in that building would be probably okay. If you're trying to get something more specific, probably one of the places that would have some like more specific info would be the Chancellor's office. you were in at one point.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be good. That'd be probably a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to start there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you suddenly see the very the large but still cozy and cozy office of the chancellor. I believe that was Chancellor Parik, if I remember correctly. I might be mixing up my NPC names, but I'm pretty sure that was the chancellor.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have the
as
name
Caitlin
saved.
pulls out the.
I'm in a different
Other
notebook.
It is in a different notebook.
It is, yeah.
I'm also in
I'll
a different
look.
one. So.
You
Okay.
can continue. I'll let you know.
So yeah, looking around, you notice that it's largely unchanged, except you do notice that instead of some of the very unassuming and tasteful tapestry work that was hanging on the walls before, some of it has been covered over with the unmistakable Silverbreak banner.
Oof, okay.
The next thing you notice is that the person sitting in the chancellor's chair is not the chancellor, but is in fact one Tamsin Trethaway, the woman who had been the successor to Damian Ellis as the director of Silverbreak Technologies. She is currently sitting at a human woman currently sitting at the desk. Her hair a little longer than you saw it last, brown and sort of up in a very kind of tight but ornate bun, wearing just a very a casual corporate suit, and she is currently not meeting with it. She's not with anyone, not talking to anyone. She's just currently looks like she's going over some kind of report on the desk, and at one point, just as you're watching, you see her sort of stop, lean back, and look out the window outwards towards the main city of Sulan. Yes, sorry, Caitlin, what?
Oh, I was waiting for you to be done.
Oh.
Yes, it is Arun Parik,
Yeah, okay.
Chancellor, warm
Cool.
and friendly.
Yeah. So you see you see her. She just kind of gazes out the window, and you can see a very slow kind of like a slight crease of concern, or maybe thought, just sort of deep kind of contemplation, cross her face for just a second. Then she sighs, leans forward, and taps the intercom on the desk, and she says, "Get me everything that you have on the inner works of Sulan. I want it on my desk in half an hour." And then she leans back, gazes out the window again, exhales, shakes her head, and then goes back to what she was doing before.
Okay. I'm going to just kind of probably keep watching her for a while just to see if I can get anything. I'm trying to think of where else would be good to peek in on.
Be the basement.
The caretakers.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, and I said basement, but yeah,
The-
the caretakers. 'Cause
I
it's
understood what you meant, though.
Yeah.
Where would? Yeah.
Underground.
No. Oh yeah. That'd be a good place. Yeah, I want to go ahead and look in there.
I'm
Where?
worried about them.
Yeah.
I know. I want to know if they're down there, if they've hidden. What their interactions with the corporates would be really interesting to know.
There's one place in kind of the inner works of Sulan that you've been before, where you met Vix.
Oh yeah,
during-
I remember that encounter.
Yeah, during the original sort of siege of Sulan. Yeah, you once again placing your sort of sensor just sort of appearing there.
The way that I imagine Peach looks when she's doing this, by the way, is she's sitting in the chair probably from she hasn't moved since she called Vix. And it probably looks really eerie because she closed her eyes and then she opens her eyes and then she's looking through the kind of remote viewing. But to anyone who actually looked at her, it would literally just look like she's staring pretty just seeing something that's totally not in front of her.
Eyes
Do your
moving.
eyes
but
glaze
looking
over?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be super unnerving to witness.
Love it.
Yeah. So, yeah, you look around and you see the usual amounts of activity down here, which is to say, almost none. The occasional scuttling of one of the caretakers, just sort of their sort of insectoid biomechanoid frames moving very purposefully and skillfully through the inner works of Sulan, the maintenance works. There is one point where one passes sort of near where you've placed your sensor, and you watch as the mantis-like head sort of turns very suddenly and looks directly at you. There's just sort of like a head tilt kind of thing. You can see like the mandibles kind of like clicking for a moment, just sort of clicking together, and you hear like a series of whirring and clicking coming from the caretaker, who then just sort of like sees you, and then like seemingly sees you, and then just stands there staring for just a few moments, and then just sort of scurries off.
That's unexpected.
Yeah, otherwise things kind of continue there as you can distantly, like in various catwalks that are sort of spider webbing across this sort of enormous cavern-like structure within the center of the asteroid. You can see other caretakers just sort of moving about, performing whatever maintenance duties they have.
Okay, so it doesn't seem like they're behaving normally. It
Seems like it.
From what?
How long?
I
How
hope
long
they
do
recognized you.
How long do you watch for?
I have us for an hour, so probably like, unless we're in a hurry to go somewhere, probably like the full hour I would watch.
Okay. Yeah, about 15 minutes after that happens, you see another individual. You don't recognize them. This person is Lumnian. So like standing at probably about 7.5 feet tall, deep gray skin, like very like the almost charcoal in its coloring, having this sort of like cranial ridges and like facial ridges as well, just sort of going out in patterns that kind of sweeps up following the cheekbones up and then down the same way following the jaw. You see as she steps forward and looking. Here's the sense that you're getting. You can see that she is looking towards you, but isn't perceiving you in the same way that one of the caretakers might have. But you notice the same like fully blacked out sclera that you remember from the joined ones, and she looks in your sort of general direction and says, "Things on Sulan are proceeding as expected under the occupation of the Silverbreak forces. They have shown an unusual amount of interest in the inner workings that Sulan uses, that the Sulan Hive uses to maintain everything. We have done everything that we can to dissuade them. They have as yet not found the answers that they seek. However, the Hive does not have the control here that they of our environment that they might on one of the conduits. Eventually, they will find what they seek, and what they seek is the answer to the riddle of the technology of the Hives. The technology that the kind have used for eons and kept safe. Time is slowly running out for us. It would be disastrous if the corporations were to get their hands on the technology that the kind have used. It was meant to be used by the kind and by no one else.
You have to make sure it stays that way.
She continues.
I mean, I
Right.
can't speak
No,
through it.
no.
She's just, yeah.
Yeah. She says, in the hands of the corporations, it would be devastating. There is more, but the Hive wishes to speak with you personally in the matter. When the time comes, the Sulan Hive will stand with you. She looks kind of displaying and sort of unusually unjoined sort of mannerism by sort of like surreptitiously looking around, almost like in a sort of like an uncertain kind of way. And then she returns and looks back at you and says, "The Hive wishes you to know that at key moments in time, everything is in flux. The very fabric of the universe is malleable. In those key moments, small amounts of pressure may be applied without fundamentally altering anything. One simply must keep account of precise timing." She then just with no further any kind of like just completely perfunctory, just sort of turns and just walks off very purposefully away.
And we stand with the Hive as well. Peach kind of just has this incredulous expression on her face, like her jaw is dropped. Oh my gosh. Okay, she's gonna stick around for like the rest of that hour, like just kind of watching just to see if anything else comes. And
yeah. Nope, it all pretty much proceeds as it did before.
Okay, and then I'm gonna immediately go find everyone else to relay that information.
Sounds good. All right.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
So, we will actually, for the purposes of this, we'll go ahead and say, why don't we go ahead and say, I know you said that it was right after Vix, the chat with Vix, but like for the purposes of moving things along a little bit, why don't we say that this happened after you'd already left, and then that way we can bring Taeyeon back in with everybody else.
Yeah, sure.
So we'll say then that as you get up to leave the room to go find everybody else, we'll say at this point everyone is kind of gathered in the bridge. Mason, you're still kind of looking into everything, like with your former CO. And Alma has pulled up whatever database has been like you want to check through, and has it open for you in the bridge. So we'll say then that that Bina, Alma, Mason, and Becker are currently on the bridge.
We are on Awakener, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. There have been a lot of ships involved recently.
Yeah. No, because that is what you indicated that you wanted to take Awakener to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as you are Peach, I'll say then as Peach, you're walking up to the bridge. You don't even reach the corridor before suddenly in the hold of Awakener, you just see Taeyeon and Ada just sort of materialize.
Oh, welcome back.
Good to be back. I think we got everything we need. Probably going to
Good.
take a bit to sift through though.
Well, maybe.
Ada says, "I'm going to head up to the observation deck and start plugging in everything I know right now and start parsing this because there is a lot."
Okay,
Good luck.
We're gonna head to the meeting room and just see what we can decide on while you're doing that.
Yeah. While that's happening, I have some pressing news. So.
Okay, let's meet up with everyone else then.
All right. So, with Taeyeon and Ada Sprix safely aboard, Bina and Alma jump back into FTL, and yeah, we'll cut up to like the meeting room where Ada is like hardwiring in and starting to like begins immediately like writing a bunch of like algorithms to help her sift through the data, this enormous data package that you just downloaded. All right, so as you all gather in the meeting room,
so I'm going to say that Ada and our mission went pretty smoothly. Didn't really run into anyone. Made sure that we didn't trip any of the. I mean, I hope we didn't trip any of the alarms, but didn't run into anything. Just got a pretty hefty data packet that they're currently sifting through. Anything happened while I was gone?
Yes. So, and I'm gonna kind of relate everything that I saw with the hive and in the office.
Get to the part about like keeping time. Bina like looks at Taeyeon like
yeah, no, Peach is like very careful to recite those word for word, like that word for word. She like literally like has notes that she was probably like as soon as she got done with that conversation was like writing down the wording because it seemed really specific.
I also feel like I really like the idea that like Peach has taken to like actually like whenever using distance viewing actually has like
like she's taking
like,
notes while she's there.
Yeah, like
I mean, I love that. Yeah,
that.
that's definitely what she'd do. Yeah, for sure. So they're not just after Sulan and splintering, their forces in support of us. They're actually specifically wanting secrets of the hive. They're targeting the hive and the conduit.
I mean, that
conduits.
makes sense. They're most likely trying to unlock whatever conduit they left behind. I mean, that the Voxora left behind, and they're most likely wants to understand it. Someone needs to keep track of time. I've been trying to figure out how time works for a very long time. I guess I could try and use that to see if there's any malleable points in time. I think like Taylor is just like kind of immediately in his head about that now.
Yeah, I thought it must have something to do with you, but I don't know. It seemed really.
I mean, there's like I mentioned, there are multiple like ideas of how time is structured, and I suppose one of them is definitely that there are malleable points in time rather than the whole thing being malleable.
Says small pressure must be applied.
I'll see if I can make sense of that and see if I can use that to my advantage at any point. Right now, time is still as much of a mystery to me as most people. Again, I'm just really good at traveling through it, not really understanding it, but it's sounding like we might need to understand it.
Like, they were saying something. Like, it's an easy task, you just need to time it right. But I don't know what the task is.
Yeah, I don't know when I'm meant to be timing it, when it's meant to, what's the right time for it. I still need to figure that out. But I saw some old research papers technically old research papers haven't actually happened yet, but research papers that I looked through and wrote myself trying to figure out time. I can see if there's anything that seems to match your description of malleable points in it. It's still very much like a pie to me, and I can't really think of any particularly malleable points in that other than filling, I suppose.
Time the malleable parts, or was it the fabric of the universe type of a thing? Like reality is malleable. Is that what they said?
They said the universe is malleable.
You just have to time it right.
Well,
precise timing. Yeah. I don't know. Sounded like a riddle to me.
I'll
Universe
look.
is full of them.
Yeah, I'll look into it. I think he was typing this out on his wrist computer, like the exact wording as well.
The
so he
caretaker's
has it.
capabilities are just very unpredictable. I mean, they spoke to me, they knew I was there, and I didn't think that was possible.
Huh.
I mean, it does seem like the artifact, or at least artifact-like things, power conduits. Maybe it's some kind of relationship between that and.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yours?
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're interconnected.
Not much
They
is
definitely
known
been
about the
exposed to it.
caretakers. Go for it.
I mean, that honestly makes it really awesome that they're going to be on our side. We've got the advantage of, the unknown on our side is always nice. I don't know, because it might come to a point of fighting. Are the caretakers particularly good at that? I haven't seen any fight in my time, really.
It's their domain. They know that asteroid better than probably anyone, so at least we'd have a home field advantage just by allying with them.
But it seems like on Sulan they have different capabilities than they do in other places.
I mean, people don't know anything about them for a reason.
Yeah.
Whatever secrets they're trying to keep, they're powerful enough to keep them. So.
And the corps are digging for them.
Trathway
said she wanted everything on Sulan that she could find. So.
Let's get our favor done then. So
yeah.
We gotta get to Sulan.
Yeah. Okay.
As you finish, Becker's basically been just sort of listening this whole time, just kind of frowning slightly. But when the conversation of the mission at hand comes up again, he just nods slowly and looks over at Mason. He says, "Gonna reach out to your contact?"
Yes.
All right. The sooner we can do that, the better. Preferably before we end up on an approach. I'd rather not find myself on the wrong end of a regulator battery just because we didn't call ahead.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Listen, am I calling to get a face-to-face, or should I just keep it on the phone for now?
We're gonna need to be on site to investigate anything.
All right.
See what you can get us. We'll work with whatever we can get.
That's what we are best at.
All right. I am going to get a few hours of rest before we arrive. I recommend you all prepare and take what time you need as well. We don't know what we're walking into.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Those jumps took a bit out of me, so I might rest a little bit as well.
All right. He kind of looks over at Ada and says, "You good to go? Need anything else?" They look up and go, "No, I think I've got it. Just need to write a couple more of these, and then I can get started cracking on the data package." She looks up at you, Mason, and just says, "I'll try to get you anything useful and feed you anything that comes up as soon as I find it. Anything I think might be relevant, I'll keep it aside and send it to you."
Thank you, Ada. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. All right. She just sort of settles herself into the kind of one of the comfier seats up there, and just sort of brings the terminal up, and just starts you watch as she starts throwing up holographic displays, and just immediately begins partitioning them into multiple screens where there's multiple processes happening. And yeah, you basically just watch some of the algorithms that she's written already immediately begin sort of sorting through everything, and just sort of kicking out some files, literally almost like this a cybernetic laundry sorting, just sort of right, just sort of and
Very
then on
cool.
on another screen code is happening as she is writing more programs.
I would ask if you needed or wanted coffee, but I'm afraid of what would happen if you had coffee.
Taylor's like just out of vision of Ada, but in vision of Mason. It's no, you don't want to
They look up at you and go, "Oh no, that's all right. Maybe later." And then you watch as Ada literally like splits in two. Once again, there are like two Adas, and the second
about
Ada
that.
also immediately begins throwing up additional screens, and the two of them just begin working in tandem.
Oh, I forgot about that. Wow. Okay, I need coffee.
All right. Anything anyone wants to particularly do before getting to the next bit?
Before everybody leaves the conference room or whatever, he's just gonna say, "Oh, also Vix is gonna meet up with us soon. I know
Okay.
everybody's missed him, so."
Vina, Tan. Oh.
Yeah, I thought
Guess
it was
if we
best
have to.
if he came back.
I guess can't leave him out on his own for too long to get himself into trouble.
Yeah, you miss him too much, right?
Don't put words in my mouth. I'm just gonna get up and walk out.
Excellent. All right. Then, if there is nothing else, Mason, you reach out to your. Do you reach out to your old
Yeah,
commanding officer?
I'm gonna go to my room.
Okay.
I guess. It
Wait,
seems like
before
Hmm.
like we split off, if I knew that was about to happen, Vina's gonna like pat you on the back and be like, "You got this. I'm gonna give you encouragement for social interactions."
Oh,
Yeah.
Just in
sweet.
case.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, Mason grabs coffee on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Then, yep. A little burnt. That's all right. It'll keep me awake. Mason heads to his room, closes the door, and sits on the desk, and is just kind of like staring at the ceiling for a little bit. All right, Captain Harrell, how have you been these days? He says to himself out loud, and then is going to make the call.
Okay. Yeah, you call and you see the regulator logo appear on the screen as the call is kind of going through, and then you watch as it blinks into like a video feed of a Keldro man, probably like nearly middle-aged, where you can see that some of his like jet black hair has started to go like a little grayer. You can see that he's basically got these sort of like long but well-kempt sideburns, and then just sort of like graying sort of stubble that that looks like it is just starting to grow back in. As he looks at you and says, "Well, look what the damn shriek cat dragged in." He says, "So, Mason fucking Frey. Been a while."
Hello, Iselic. I hear you're captain now.
Yeah, I guess word travels around. So, I hear you're a wanted interstellar terrorist.
Those the folks who said that got paid way too much credits.
Yeah, sounded like media sensationalist bullshit to me. So, to what do I owe the call? I mean, it's only been what, 8 years?
Yeah, well, you know how things left off with the regulators and everything. I kind of went to a dark place.
Yeah, I understand that.
But I've been a private investigator, and it's fine by me. It's not glorified work, but it's work.
Always did love a good mystery. No, I didn't really figure you one for investigating cheating spouses.
Well, there's some private businesses too that were trying to figure out why inventory was short, but you know, that was also kind of, It paid the bills. Let me just say that.
Yeah. Well, I'll say your skills are wasted on that. You're
Yeah.
one of the best investigators we had on the force. He
It's
kind
a
of
shame.
like looks past you and says, "That a ship you're on? Where are you at these days? Last I heard, you made your way back to shit. Sorry. Where were you from again?
No worries. It's Krenai.
Krenai, that's right.
Yeah,
Damn.
the city of clouds.
Yeah, gas clouds.
Not the best air. Yes. I'm on a ship. And thought we'd have some conversation. I thought maybe we could have a meetup.
Well, you're out this way, out in the border worlds.
I mean, this sort of feels like home.
That's maybe one of the saddest things I've ever heard, but damn if you're not right.
Yes. True.
Yeah, mind if I ask what this is about? I mean, I doubt you came all the way out here for a social call.
Maybe I did. Pretty interesting fellow. Yeah. You already know I'm not the best at lying. I tend to be as upfront as possible. So I'm just going to say it. It's the oldest case, and I've been working on it for ages.
Shit.
I know. I know what you're going to say.
Oh, enlighten me.
You're going to say this is what got me kicked out. This is where I ended up in this shithole.
It's about right.
Well, I want to ask you a question. Why did you become a regulator?
Go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna have you make a roll on this. It's gonna be an intellect task. It's gonna be a persuasion situation here.
Oh, okay.
You get an asset.
Mhm.
I do. I just have to double check something real quick. But yeah, give me the difficulty.
The difficulty on this one's gonna be 4.
Okay. I have an asset. What does the asset do again, Caitlin?
It just drops it by a level.
Okay, cool.
So it goes down. to a 3
Social interactions, pleasant or otherwise, is one of my skills, so you've gained that.
Yeah.
I thought I had something to. Oh, okay. I don't. All right. Intellect. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Can I use identify or perception skills? I don't know if this is a.
I will say perception will work here because what you are essentially doing is you're sort of calling this dude out a little bit.
Yeah. And I didn't know it was going to be a face-to-face call, so I'm using every advantage here, and I'm going to be like looking at any kind of like ticks or any kind of eye movements. So
Sure,
I kind of
yeah.
thought perception would fit. That brings it down to a 2,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. All right. I'll spend a level of effort, bring it down to a 1, and I'll roll.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Work for me,
You
pencil.
need 3 or better.
$19.
Oh shit! That's a minor effect.
I know, and this is a really interesting situation.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Tell you what. Because this was not like this was a role to like basically convince him to like to convince him to let you like come to like the place. So I'll tell you. I know what the minor effect is going to be right now, and I'll hold on to that for a second. So I'll have his response first. So he just sort of stares at you for a long minute and then just says, I joined because I didn't have shit else going for me. I thought I might be able to make my way, find something place to carve out for myself. But I stayed because the work that the regulators do out here in this place, in this endless sea of chaos out here, was important. It mattered. People's lives were at stake, and people were being taken advantage of by the syndicates out here. They were being ground into the dirt under the boot heels of organized crime. And even after the regulators got rid of the powerful syndicates back in the day, even after that, people were still being victimized. I stayed with the regulators because I believed in their mission to put a stop to that shit. I believed that the regulators could be a real force for good and order out here. Something this place has never seen, something they could desperately use, so that people can get themselves back up and build a place worth living in out here. And I'll say, for this, the minor effect on this is that you know with absolute certainty that he's telling the truth about that.
Good.
All right, Frey. You think this shit's still going on? I backed you back then. I did what I could for you back then. Just because you haven't called to ask me how everything's going for 8 years doesn't mean I can't still do the same thing now. So, whatever I can do to help, I'll if you send me your ship's frequency, I'll give you clearance codes. That way you won't get blasted out of space the moment you enter our proximity.
Awesome.
I assume since you are on a ship and calling me right now, you already know exactly where I am, so I won't bother sending you coordinates.
Correct.
All right.
And yes, this shit is absolutely still going on.
Well, then one way or another, we're gonna have to finish this fucking thing once and for all.
That's what I like to hear.
All right.
How's the lady friend?
Fuck you. He cuts out the communication.
Oh, that's bitter. I forgot. Fuck. All right. Mason's going to sit back
Okay.
and just chill for a bit.
Sounds good. All right. Then, if there is nothing anyone else would like to do, actually, tell you what, this is as good a time as any for us to go to break a little bit early.
Ooh.
So we'll go to break, and when we return, we will get back to the arrival at the Regulator patrol ship. So everyone, go ahead, get some, refill your water, walk around, move your body, stretch, whatever you need to do. We will see you here in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody. We are back from break. When we left off, the crew of Awakener was currently en route to the Regulator patrol ship in the region, where Mason had already contacted his old Regulator buddy about meeting in person. I'm going to start us off a little differently than I normally do when coming back in. So I'm going to say, given the state of everything that is happening right now, I want to kind of go around and like tell me how are your characters feeling going into this? Like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like
Okay.
in reference to like this mission, but just sort of like emotional state at this point in time.
I think Taeon is feeling still kind of raw, I think. But I think there's like a considerable amount of weight lifted off his shoulders after that conversation with Ada. I think going into a mission is obviously his comfortable place. It often is. But I think going into it now with I suppose a clearer mind, he just thinks he's in a better state now than before. So I think seeing Wire break down, the person who's like very much the crux of a lot of the operation, kind of was the wake up call he kind of needed without experiencing it himself. So yeah, I think he's feeling good in general, but got obviously the natural anticipation and anxiety of a mission that like lingers.
I think Peach is feeling a combo of like both kind of eagerness to get this mission kind of complete so that we can kind of move on to the next phase, a little bit of impatience, and I think she's a little bit worried until she sees Vix. I don't think she's gonna stop feeling worried. Like that's like she has this kind of like, I'm sure he'll be okay, but like it's just kind of her nature to worry about him. And added on with this whole new information with Naira being there, she's definitely like trying to focus on the mission at hand, but she's feeling a little bit of worry for him.
Mason feels pretty tense. There's a lot of irons in our fire to take care of, and also a little tense because he's going back to a place he hasn't been to in a while.
Yeah.
I think Bina, like 48 hours ago, was like on the precipice of breakdown, having a breakdown, and like had been for a little while, in like the way of like, this is war. I am not built for. And then all of the stuff happened with the base getting taken and like having to deal with all of that, and now so much again has happened in the last 24 hours that I think she has just like shoved all of it to super back burner and has just been like focusing on the things that she can do and fix, which is, you know, kind of always the Bina thing, but like right now it's like very much a facade, like of, here are the things I can do. I can fly the ship, I can fix this ship, I can get us where we need to go, and I can get us out of there. Let's do it, let's go. Woo!
Yeah. Cool. All right. So, as you are making your final approach, we'll say Awakener jumps out of FTL, and immediately Alma looks down at the scanners. She goes, "Yeah, the regulator convoy's just a little bit ahead. Actually, they should be coming into visual contact in just a few seconds." She kind of like points vaguely and just, there. And you can see where Alma is pointing. You can out the forward view screen. You can see where she is. She has indicated. There are. You can see the little blue dots of the regulator ship's drives that are currently pushing them around. Looking at the scanners, you can see that there is currently one singular patrol vessel with some smaller craft around it, craft that look big enough to be able to dock on the patrol ship. The patrol ship itself is it's a pretty large frigate. It's the showing itself to be of very, very sleek design. Bina, looking at this thing, you can you know a little bit about the regulators just sort of in passing, but looking at their ships always brings really sort of drives home the fact that the regulators are a very, very wealthy organization. They are and have been for the entirety of their existence a privately funded endeavor. They have largely become self-sustaining from their the resources that they have sort of found themselves sitting on top of, from their initial planetfall in the Border Worlds, where they basically made their first, where they made their base, where their headquarters are located. It was a very resource-rich world that they used to fund what they needed and build what they couldn't get otherwise. And their ships show it, because some of their vessels look to be more advanced than some of the galaxy's like superpowers navies. So as you are approaching, it's hard not to look at that and not be intimidated slightly by it. The ships themselves are sort of almost sort of oblong in their construction. They almost look like large towers or skyscrapers. They're forward, they're sort of like the nose of the vessel, bristling with all sorts of sensor antennae and like things that basically they're long range sensors, the kind of hardware that would probably pretty easily be able to cover an entire system, or even potentially a whole like sort of small region of space. Basically, it would be really hard to sneak up on one of these things. You'd have to have very specialized equipment to try to even to attempt to catch one of these guys unawares. But yeah, as you approach, you can see that there are a variety of relatively short-range vessels that are that sort of are drifting around the thing like pilot fish around a shark. You can see most of them appear to be relatively short range, although some of them do seem to be equipped with their own FTL drives. Just probably nothing that's going to do any kind of deep space exploration, but it could do some pretty simple like adjacent system hops. And yeah, so as you're approaching, you receive a hail on the communications, Bina.
I look over to Mason, who got us the
Yeah.
permissions.
Yeah, Mason steps forward. Want me to?
I guess so. And
Oh,
I
I've
mean,
never done
if
this
you
before.
talk to him,
Is there
I don't
a
know. I
specific
just
way to
was
do it? Is there a
flying.
code that you do? Like, do you say? How do you sound? Okay, never mind.
Just
Okay.
serious. You're
Okay,
good.
well, I can do serious.
I answer the call.
Yeah, you just get. This is a regulator patrol ship Harrier to unidentified craft. Please identify. Sending any relative clearance codes and transmissions promptly, or you will be escorted to the edge of the system with force if necessary.
So we have had false identification for Awakener before. Do we still have that?
Yeah, in theory, but you also do have clearance codes and stuff like that were
But
transmitted
I don't
to
want
you.
to tell them who we are. I don't want to tell them we're Awakener.
But we got something from Iselic.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
guess
talking
so.
about. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
You got clearance code.
What's
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it.
their do they have a name of their position that I would address them if I were still in the Regulators? I just want to be cool.
Not specifically, but like a generic means of address is operator. So
All right, that's a hard copy, operator. This is Frey. Sending you coordinates now.
acknowledged.
Coordinates.
Yeah. Acknowledged. Receiving now. Alma begins transmitting. Clearance codes received. Prepare for docking instructions to be transmitted to your docking computer. Harrier out. And yeah, the communication cuts out.
but very serious. Good job.
Oh, that's really cool. Never talked over this thing before.
It's always stressful, and then it's fine. So.
Alma looks down and says, "Okay, I've got their instructions now. Want me to pull us in?"
Let's do it.
You begin sort of following along a basic, like you watch as essentially from the sort of like enormous hangar bay door in the side of this thing, you watch as the very suddenly there's a whole bunch of objects that are ejected from the hangar bay that sort of begin aligning themselves, and then you watch as basically a bunch of beacons essentially just sort of begin aligning themselves, giving you a what is essentially a runway in space, guiding Awakener in towards the hangar bay. Before too long, Alma is setting down Awakener in the interior of this very large hangar bay. In fact, it is it's reminiscent of those of you who were aboard the Void Caller. It is very sort of reminiscent of that sort of like the long sort of hangar bay that, like, looking at it, you can see probably runs about a quarter of the length of the ship itself. Inside, you can see where there are at least 2 squadrons of fighters that are sort of docked and sort of held up sort of to the ceiling of the hangar bay, looking just sort of held and ready for deployment, for easy deployment. You looking around, you also see a few of those shorter range vessels that you saw outside, and those sort of being maintained as you approach. As Awakener docks down, you see immediately there are crews that are running up to Awakener and beginning to sort of like attach like fueling lines and things like that. And maintenance crew immediately, you looking out, you see a maintenance crew just sort of gathering. Like, they're not approaching, they're just gathering. You see them, like, they have stood fully off to the side, and seem to just be waiting. Mason, looking out the front, you can see where a hangar door opens, and a small group of Regulator patrolmen enter in, and you recognize Captain Eselik in the lead.
There he is.
I would like to read the emotional state of everyone who just walked in.
Well, you're currently still on the bridge of Awakener, looking out.
Oh, I thought you said they boarded.
No, they entered the hangar.
Okay, I misunderstood. Awesome.
They entered the
Continue.
hangar.
Never
Yeah.
mind. I do not do that.
Mm-hmm. You watch as they approach and then just sort of stop a little ways away.
Mason, do you want to... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no.
I was just going to say, Mason, do you want to take the lead on this one?
Do it. Well, I mean, we can go together, but I can definitely take the lead.
Sounds good.
I don't want to leave you guys out.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're going to
no.
be leaving you alone either, honestly.
Good.
But yeah, you know this place better than any of us here, or at least the people.
Yep. Mason just kind of like stretches, cracks his knuckles.
Back in your element.
Oh. All
Had a
right.
night's sleep? Have we had a night's sleep?
Oh, I thought you were asking. Sorry. I thought you were asking. Did you sleep well?
Did you sleep well? Did you sleep good last night?
Right before we go out.
Good, right? Becca was like, they're gonna get some rest before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have had the
Okay. I just didn't know where my pool's red. As we're like walking out, Vina's gonna I'm gonna slap Mason on the arm and I'm gonna give you a stimulate.
All right.
Vito doesn't know how else to help right now.
Mason's very accustomed to what the just like a regular pat on the back is versus the being a pat on the back, the two armed like.
Yeah, you get a little like.
Thank you.
Just I don't know, just help.
You never know.
All right. So, who is disembarking? Is it just the four of you?
I feel like it's probably best not to overwhelm them.
Also, I don't want the ship left unattended.
Yeah. So that would leave.
Do we want Becker to come? Does he seem like someone, or should we leave him?
I say we leave him.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just the four of us.
So that leaves
good tactical people in multiple
Okay.
places.
Yeah.
leaves Becker, Alma, Jade, Sedona, and Abriel inside.
Okay, yeah, then we should definitely leave Becker.
Yeah.
That's the crew that's inside. No offense to them. They're all capable of it. I'm just saying.
All right. So you as you lower the boarding ramp to Awakener and exit, you step out into the hangar. Where immediately there's just sort of a rush of activity around you that you are hearing, as crews are maintaining ships. There's even a utility mech that is sort of stomping around the bay, like loading cargo up onto some of the shelves, or bringing them down for maintenance crews to sort of you watching maintenance crews coming over with pry bars, prying them open, getting inside and starting to remove equipment and taking it to where it needs to be stored.
We passed the mech thing to just, can we get one of those? I want to get one.
You approach Iselik and his contingent, and he looks at all of you as you approach, and then glances at the people behind him. And as you approach Mason, the two of you just sort of stare at each other for a moment, and he just says, "Attention, everybody. He says, to attention. We're in the company of one of the finest investigators that's ever been on my team." And you see as the crew, his crew just sort of snap to attention, and sort of they spread to either side and they snap to attention. And he kind of smirks at you, Mason. He says, "Figured a little pomp and circumstance would keep everybody on their toes a little bit."
Indeed.
So, he says, welcome to the RPS Harrier. It's she's not much, but she's got it where it counts. Certainly more than most of the syndicate scum in this area can handle. So, he kind of looks around at all of you and says, "I know most of you." And he looks at you, Taeon, and he says, "Not sure I know you, though."
My name's Taeon. I've been running with the Awakener for a bit now, so guess you're probably gonna have to get used to my face, because I feel like it's gonna be appearing a bit more often. As I say with my helmet on.
Yeah. He just sort of nods to you and then looks to the rest of you and says, "Well, I'm Captain Harold Iselik. Says, formerly a Frey's CO back when he was with us. Let's he kind of looks around where you can hear all the activity around the hangar bases. Let's get somewhere a little less ambient, and we can have a conversation."
Just going to ask. That'd be perfect.
He looks around and says, who's your pilot?"
Two right arms
Yeah.
up.
Got a maintenance crew standing by. If you need them to run any kind of maintenance on your ship, they're at your disposal. Otherwise, I'll dismiss them now.
I look at the maintenance crew,
Mm-hmm.
and then I look at Awakener. Does Awakener actually need any repairs, or has Bina got it handled?
I mean, nothing. It doesn't need anything in the way of repairs at all.
Okay, then she no. She would say no before I even finish the question. Then.
Right. He kind of looks over and nods over to the crew chief, who says, "All right, people, let's get back to work." And they kind of scatter.
I figured if they did need real repairs, this is they've got some really nice tech here, but if we don't need anything, then do not touch my ship.
Yeah. He said, "I've taken the liberty of having them hook you up with a quick top off of your fuel. Otherwise, they'll leave it alone." All right. Let's go. And he leads you back into the ship. As you begin kind of making your way through the corridors, he's just sort of like chatting sort of with you, sort of small talk kind of stuff with you, Mason, as he's just saying like all the stuff that is like that's changed, all the things like kind of giving you a bit of like the woes of command, right? That kind of thing. He says, "I never thought anybody would be dumb enough to give me my own ship command, but here we are, and it's a lot more responsibility than just handling the investigative branch. But I think command is something that never looked for, but it found me, and honestly, I've gotten pretty comfortable here."
Good. Well, you were always fit for it. I never said it back in the day, but I knew we were going there.
Yeah. Well, that makes one of us. Though now looking back on it, back then, I wouldn't give up being out there and getting my hands dirty for anything. Being out in the middle of things. That's where you get to. That's where the Regulators' mission really gets carried out, with the individuals. Out there helping whoever needs to be helped, tracking down the bad guys, all that kind of stuff. But looking back on it, hell, I'm getting old, and I don't think it's really, let's just say, being out there in the middle of shit, not really the place for me anymore. Let the young ones handle that one.
Yeah, well, it wears you out, after a while. For me, always showing up after a scene to gather the pieces and try to figure out what the fuck happened, it wears on you, because you weren't there to make a difference. You're there to figure out what happened.
Exactly.
It eats at you.
It sure does. And frankly, I have better things to do with my time than spend them staring at a shrink who's writing down stars knows what. But
Oh, a shrink. Well, you've seen a shrink though.
Yes, I have seen the command mandated psych eval personnel. That is correct.
Yep.
Anyway, this one's me. And he gestures over to as you arrive at a door. It slides open, and inside revealing a pretty comfortable command office. If anything, looks like a almost like a decorated like a smoke room almost, right, where it's got those sort of like rich deep colors and adornments. There's a bunch of like models and trophies, like not, and I mean like trophies like hunt sort of trophies and that kind of stuff, just sort of like on the shelves and the walls. There's a few plaques that are commendations for like what you can tell, like about 50-50 split between official service commendations and others that are like commendations for like marksmanship and that kind of stuff, like the more like and but also like ship models and things like that are also like on the shelves, many of which are, I think Bina would notice and like note are like collectors type stuff, right? Like some of them are even pretty rare. But yeah, he settles in his at his desk and turns to the escort and says, "Dismissed." They immediately sort of like snap off a crisp salute, and then they disperse. As the door closes behind them, he says, "Well, have a seat."
Yeah, I'll take one.
Is this room secure? And Mason points to his ear.
He nods, says, "It is. One moment." And he just sort of like reaches over on his desk, and you can see like a panel on the desk sort of slides open, and he like a keypad kind of comes out of it, and he types in a quick code and then pushes it back and slides down. He says, "There we go. All internal security in this room has been disabled." He says, "So," he kind of looks around at the rest of you, says, "Take it Frey has briefed you on the situation, the circumstances regarding his dismissal?"
Good idea. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. Since then, the Al'ziras Syndicate has only gotten more of their hooks into this place, growing, taking command of an entire sector. They used to be sort of nothing more than a backyard alleyway nuisance, but they've grown quite a bit. Back in the day, Frey here was investigating how they kept staying ahead of us, how they managed to keep slipping out of the regulator noose, so to speak. But he had a theory that there was somebody on the inside, somebody on their payroll. We never found anything, but wasn't for lack of looking. A lot of roadblocks and stonewalling from command in a lot of cases, and ultimately, Frey here pushed a little too hard, and they sent him out. Stands to reason, though, if all that was happening back then, like you said, it makes sense why it would still be happening right now, and why it would coincide with the Al'ziras Syndicate managing to grow well beyond their means.
I see that. Has there been anyone or anything that has raised an alarm in your head since then?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't really thought about it since you were discharged.
Fair enough. You removed the thorn.
Listen, none of that was my choice.
Yeah, sorry.
I did what I could. Truly. Ultimately, it was not in my hands.
Yeah.
As to your question, no, I can't say I know of anything in particular. Although, if it's anywhere, it'd have to be somewhere where they could exert a certain amount of influence. I mean, I'm not saying it's any of the command in this sector, but all I'm saying is that whatever the Al'ziras have going for them on the regulator side, if it's happening, it's got to be somewhere with a fair amount of influence. I can try to pull up some old records for you. Perks of Command might turn up some things that you didn't have access to back then.
You're probably right. There's a lot of obstacles to go through. Maybe that will help.
Yeah.
I mean, anything at this point. I feel like I'm very close.
All right. Well, you got any ideas of places to start? Maybe I can help you get set up. At the very least, give you a cover story for why you're here, so that people around don't question your presence too much.
That would be helpful. Really appreciate it. I wanna do a little reading of his service thoughts. I want to see if he's telling the truth. I don't know this guy at all, and I am concerned. So
Okay. I'm gonna have you make this one a roll.
okay.
This one's gonna be a difficulty. It's gonna be a difficulty 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trained, so that brings it down to 3. I don't think this is really a pleasant social interaction. I don't think that would that count?
I mean, it is technically a pleasant social interaction, but I'm not sure that counts for the purposes of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I don't think so. So I'm going to use a free level of effort to knock that down to 2, and then I'm gonna spend I'll spend some effort. I'm gonna spend 2 levels then, or 2 additional levels, so I can just do it.
Okay, sounds good. You want to roll anyway?
Sure. Okay. 12. Nothing exciting.
All right. Yeah, you immediately just sort of catch a from him, just like Frey might actually get it this time. It's sort of just, you can tell it's just sort of like the tail end of a thought, but
Okay.
it's just sort of like a, yeah. There's not much beyond that. The rest of it is him sort of the rest of what you catch is sort of him sort of running through his mind of trying to figure out what kind of cover story he's gonna give you, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Peach notes that he seems trustworthy.
He nods. So, any ideas where you might start?
The advantage here, perhaps, is that I've been out of the picture for so long that I might not be recognized right away.
Yeah. The good news is, Command can't do much to you now that you're not officially a member of the Regulators. On the other hand, Command might stonewall you if you're not careful. So I suggest not being too direct about your line of questioning. Unless you want to risk getting your invitation revoked. If that happens, there's nothing I can do for you.
Understood. Mason's going to kind of just is just going to look and just kind of go into big brain Mason mode, and is going to try to think of perhaps where to start, as in who to poke in his time in the Regulators, and is going in his time with the Regulators. He's going to try to look back and try to calculate the best place to go to.
Okay.
Or someone, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's an intellect spend, or if there's another way of going about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's an important, another important person, maybe, but I'm not sure.
Okay. You can ask for an insight spend if you want, or you can make a roll to sort of kind of put your investigative skills to work. You can do both of those things, neither of them.
I'll do the insight spend first to see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with if a player calls for an insight spend, you get to ask a question, and I have to answer that. Yeah.
So, the question I'm sort of formulating in my head is where in. Okay, let me hold on. So, if Mason has been investigating this for so long, then he must know of... Okay, this is a yes or no question.
I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Okay. Oh, okay.
No, it doesn't have to be yes or no. You can crowdsource this too. Like, you can...
What type of information are you trying to like extrapolate here? We can help you form a question.
Basically, like, Mason's trying to remember things from his investigations from the past and try to figure out where he can go to ask questions that he won't be necessarily caught.
So like where would be a low-key place to start? Is that kind of what you're wanting to ask? Like what would be a place that Mason would know?
Yeah, sure, like a place where Mason would know to go that he already has, like,
Connections to?
yeah.
Or like knows, at least when he was here, would have been, you know, a quiet place to start. Something like that? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Sure. I think so.
Okay. So, in that case, so here's what you know from back then. One of the ways that the Al'ziras Syndicate was able to keep their people basically entirely out of any kind of regulator custody or scrutiny, Mason suspected back then, was that it was someone in the investigative branch of the regulators. That if there was in fact like a mole or some kind or someone on the take, it was someone who was in the investigative branch, which would have allowed them. It would have allowed them to doctor records, to fudge evidence, all that kind of stuff. Those are things that, like, at the time, Mason strongly suspected. The unfortunate thing is that back then, Mason was limited by the fact that that's a job for internal affairs kind of thing, right? And not for the actual the actual members of the branch. And that's basically where you kept running into blocks, because you just had no authority to be investigating that. So the fact, it would stand to reason, getting to your question, it would stand to reason that if the Al'ziras Syndicate is has the regulators still in some way in their pocket, chances are they probably started in the same way, even if it has spread, right? On this patrol ship, much like Mason's back in the day, it probably started in the same way, in the same place. Even if it spread beyond that throughout the ship, at the very least, that's probably where it started here.
In the investigative branch? Of course.
And the nice thing about the investigative branch is, to your point, is it is far enough away from command that you probably won't get a whole lot of immediate pushback if you start asking questions.
Of course. Mason's just like, oh, of course, the investigative branch. I forgot. You can really keep a low profile in there. I'll be needing to ask some questions there, in my old stomping ground, really, if you think about it.
You said this to Iselic?
Iselic, yeah.
He nods.
It was like, basically, Mason was having all this, like, thought in his head, and then, like, starts talking out loud at the end of what he was...
Like, we're all just, like, smiling, like, knowing what you're doing. We're like, oh, Mason, let's wait for his stroke of genius.
Iselic nods, says, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And actually, that gives me the perfect cover story. I can, I can basically just say that this is an internal affairs investigation, and that way, I won't be able to give you any official documentation for that, but at the very least, it might get some tongues loosened, and it'll prevent anyone from asking too many questions right off the bat. I would still suggest you not be too overt about throwing that around, but because it'll wear pretty thin pretty quick.
I
But
understand.
at the very least, it should open a few doors right away. I can get. I'll work on getting you some clearance so that you can access relevant parts of the ship, and you can go from there.
All right. Well, thank you.
And, Captain, have you thought of a good cover for us yet?
Yeah, I mean that was what that was.
Oh, sorry. I guess I didn't hear that correctly. Never mind. Sorry.
He says, "All right, so, I should have that set up. I'll let investigation know that there is internal affairs usually prefers to just show up unannounced, see what they turn up. So, what I'll do instead is to give you some credibility. I'll maybe stir up a few rumors.
Playing that internal affairs is here.
Yeah, stir up a few rumors, get some of the scuttlebutt around the ship going, and
I'll just appear, no schedule, unannounced, and see what I can shake up.
there's something else you're gonna need if you're gonna be doing that. And he stands up, and he presses a button on his terminal, on his wrist terminal, and says, and you just hear, "Go ahead, sir." He says, I'm gonna need a he kind of looks around at all of you and says, I'm going to probably need 4 Theta packages delivered to my office right away. Yes, sir. We'll get them there. We'll get them there immediately. Good. And he cuts it up. Says, if you're going to be internal affairs agents, you're going to need to look the part. And like a few minutes later, you see a uniformed aide bringing in several plastic vacuum sealed bundles, and begins 4 of them and sets them on the desk. Iselic says, "All right." He says, "You're dismissed," and the aide turns and leaves. He gestures and says, "This should be these uniforms should fit all of you. I had you scanned, and these should be. This is what we have. Should fit your measurements pretty well."
Thanks.
There's 4-armed one.
Yep.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
They don't always have
The thing about regulator ships is that they do have material fabricators. So literally this was probably just made and packaged when he
Delightful.
ordered it. So yeah.
Cool.
Now we're really detectives.
What do these outfits look like?
They are shockingly similar to Mason's usual sort of thing, but what they do is they have sort of they basically are kind of military uniform with they're not military, but the regulator military uniform, with badge and everything. They have the the long coat, sort of basically a short duster that comes to, on most of you, comes to about mid thigh, and yeah, so that's the that's kind of the the investigative uniform.
4 Masons.
Heist.
Taeon can't remove his suit.
No, exactly. So yours, because the thing is, there are not many, but there are almost certainly Chemoth within the regulators' ranks as well, and Chemoth need their exosuits. So there are regulation uniform versions of regulator regulation uniform versions of the exosuits.
I think he's gonna probably not now. If they get outside or something, he's gonna jerry rig it a little bit just to, because his suit is very much specialized for him and his ability to
Yes.
travel, so he's gonna like probably like finagle it when he's out of sight. But yeah, he'll take the clothing.
Wow.
And like looking at it, you know right away, like it is very clearly fabricated, and it is in no way, it like serves the purpose that a Chemoth exosuit would, but is in no way like comparable otherwise.
Yeah.
Like because yeah, like the Chemoth are very proprietary about their tech. So yeah. So it would in no, it doesn't even really look like a Chemoth exosuit. It's just sort of a generic exosuit that just happens to be tailored specifically for Chemoth forms, but for the Chemoth physique. But yeah.
Yeah. He kind of like under his helmet, kind of he's done like our reflex does the like polite smile, like yay socks for Christmas kind of deal. But then realize he's got his helmet on, so it's not like they can see it anyway. But so just takes the suit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this feels very official.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he basically like what ends up happening. Like there is a he gives you sort of like place where you can all kind of like change and whatnot. When you're finished, he says, "All right, so I have temporarily logged you into the system. Your badges will not get you into restricted sectors. If you try to use them that way, they will probably find you immediately, and then all of our asses are on the line. So, I will not be able to protect you, and the consequences will not just be simple revocation of your clearance to be here. You will be incarcerated under the Regulators' Uniform Military Code of Justice."
How long is this? Oh, sorry.
Are there any clear indicators of what zones are restricted? Are there signs, or are we just meant to note this kind of stuff? Are there any clear indications of what zones are restricted, or are we just meant to note this kind of stuff?
There will be clear indicators of restricted zones. Basically anything that requires a clearance of 4 or higher, and you won't be able to make it in. But if you absolutely need, if a place like that becomes pertinent to your investigation, come to me first.
Okay.
And how long do these access passes last?
Best I could do for right now is it'll last for 24 hours. At the end of that, if you need more time, we'll figure something out. After 24 hours, all of this paperwork gets processed. So, best to be try to do what you can, but best to keep things within that 24-hour period, or else this very questionable and entirely illegal paperwork gets processed, and then some
We should be on our way out.
Yeah, then some eggheads up in command are going to start asking questions. So,
yep, sounds about right.
All right. Well, let me know if you need anything else while you're here. I'll do what I can from my end, see if I can pull up any old records that might be useful to you.
All right. Thank you.
Sure thing. And Frey, all things considered, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
All right, you're dismissed.
Yes, Captain.
And with that, you exit his office, now limited but relatively free reign of the ship.
You seem nice, Mason.
Yeah. Yep. I like him. It's been a while, but he's in the right place, and he's doing what he can. All except for getting fired, of course, like I did, but it's putting it lightly. Do we want to rebuttal at the ship, or do we want to go from here?
There's no time to waste, right?
There's no time to waste. That's what I was thinking. I think I know where to go.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So, here's what I'm going to say. I did promise us a full-length episode. However, we are at a sort of a pretty natural stopping point here, and I want to give us an opportunity to really get into kind of the investigation. So a couple of us are like not feeling 100% right now. So what I think I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna call the stream here, if that's cool with all of you. And actually, you know what we can do? We'll go to break here for a second, and then we can come back and spend the rest of the time with the people who are still here. We could just chat, talk a little bit about
Hashtag
information.
sounds awesome.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to the break screen here for just a couple minutes, and then we'll be right back.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Don't leave.
All
We'll
right.
be back.
BRB.
Hi,
everybody. We are back with our little impromptu Q&A, as Gemini said in the chat.
Yeah. little hangout. We don't get to hang out with you guys very often.
Yeah, we don't really get to do this too much.
True.
So, yeah. Plus, we haven't really had, especially with like Rambomancy's schedule really filling up guest-wise, we really haven't had an opportunity to like set up for
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So we'll have to set some time aside. We'll have to remember to set some time aside. In maybe in December we can like set something up for that, because I think December is still relatively clear. For Rambomancy's schedule. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. But yeah, welcome on in, everyone. Feel free to ask your questions here in the chat, or just
scream at us.
that works too. Yeah.
Or
Also
scream.
fun.
We here at Rule of Lore make Drac take care of himself.
We do.
Yeah,
It's our
100%.
mission.
Yes, absolutely.
We are very pro Drac taking care of himself.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll ask the question I usually ask during our Q&As to start us off, which is like, how do y'all feel about the season so far? Because we're what, this is our 8th episode, I think. This is episode 8 of season 3.
Sounds
so
right.
yeah, our last 8th episode
I'm
ever.
gonna fly to the coast.
You didn't say it this time.
I know.
I didn't say it last time either.
Yeah.
I thought you did.
I think somebody else said it
In
first.
chat. Someone in chat.
and
That's
then
probably
yeah,
why.
I think somebody else. Yeah.
Ooh.
I'll mute myself and scream for like 45 seconds. That
sounds good.
that'd be my answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like I tend to take a bit of time to really get into a character properly these days, it seems. But I really feel like I'm feeling Mason more and actually in season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, excellent.
Ooh. I am really I'm enjoying season 3. I think it's nice how we have a little bit more of like a goal that feels like a little bit more direct, and it's nice to not be as I mean, I'm still nervous. I'm still worried about some things, but
Yeah, we do seem to have like a very like A to B to C right now. I feel like sometimes we just kind of have like save the universe, which is also good, but like we've got our next 2 steps planned out, as long as we don't bungle it.
And I'm really interested in like the number of different kind of like villains we have going on right now, because I'm like, I don't even know who's gonna do what next. So that has me on the edge of my seat.
Very exciting. I'm pumped.
Sorry, I just realized I meant to do during our short break. I got distracted, but I meant to like do a quick little thing in the Discord for it's like, hey, this is what's happening.
Ooh, Gemini asked a great question, which is as a player, why do you think the keepers can sense powers? I think that's a great question.
It is. Oh, yeah.
I think they are more powerful than anyone realizes. I
agree.
They have secrets to the goddamn universe that no one has been able to get from them. And I think Silverbreak knows or suspects something along those lines. maybe I don't know if they're necessarily involved with like how we got our powers, or like if they are on the same like wavelength as us, or like, you know, I don't like how all of us are kind of like, yes, we all got our powers from the same thing, we all kind of like get like, I don't know if they're on that same thing, like they could be totally different, but like they are, I think they're just like super duper powerful in like ways that we are not like comprehending.
Because they're, I mean, if we're thinking about them as like an alien intelligence, like we don't know what their capabilities are in general, you know, like
they don't want us to know.
And I also think the idea of them being able to like sense things that we couldn't sense is really interesting. Like just in general, like maybe they can see different things than we can, and that's how they saw, you know, Peach there. That's kind of my also, yeah, I guess it's kind of the same thing, but
oh my god, I just noticed the patches behind you on the wall. I didn't
yeah,
know that was there.
Yeah, it's always been, I put it up there.
I didn't see it until just this very second.
Incredible.
I was gonna say, when I suggested you go down like underneath, I wasn't expecting them to be able to see your sensor, but I was like hoping they would.
Yeah.
Like
So cool.
totally like off completely, just shot in the dark, like hopefully they can see you. And then they did, and I was like, I'm so excited. That made me so happy.
Hold on, I'm just adjusting something here that I realized I need to do. Unless Freeman, did you have something that you were gonna add to that, or?
Oh yeah, I didn't answer. Sorry. It kind of saying the same thing everyone else said, and that's that there's so much we don't know about them. They keep a whole like semi-planet going. They came with us to help us with fucking space hadron collider thing, and like they know things we don't. And I was just thinking about this earlier, how cool, I know this is completely different, but
it's good.
It'd be really cool to have like some kind of translator thing to have, so that Mason could understand what they're clicking about. I'd love to know what they're saying. Like
they're so cool.
And the
They really
hive
are.
mind is so interesting. Like, so cool.
I'm still so fucking pumped that we got to take them with us to the conduit at one time. I was like, it was again another thing that I was like, this is wild and just something that I really want. I don't know if they'll do it. And then they did. Ugh.
Did Peach try to read their mind at one point? Didn't I like pass?
Yes,
didn't I like pass out? Yes. Right? That's what I thought happened.
That is so funny. Remy asked one.
Oh, actually, I will also say that like this isn't directly relevant to Gemini's question, but it was inspired by Gemini's question, which was that like, because this is something that y'all would know. Canonically, in the history of this galaxy, when humans first came through and destroyed the prime conduit that humans came into this galaxy with, that is actually the thing that like. That the humans coming through wasn't the thing that stopped the conflict that was going on at the time, raging around the prime conduit between the Commonwealth and the Ascendancy. It was because they actually were about to continue to open fire on the humans, but the destruction of the prime conduit actually heralded the arrival of a bunch of like mysterious ships that later were shown to belong to the caretakers. Where they came from and where they went to after that, nobody has any idea. But they showed up and they immediately disabled all the ships from both fleets. All three fleets, technically. They immediately disabled all of them, putting everybody into sort of like a stasis. And then essentially forced the peace talks to happen. Because as a result of their the conflict's negative impact on the conduits and that sort of thing. It's a little bit, so the caretakers really are a little bit protectors of the conduits, but they are a little bit protect the galaxy from the conduits. And so like that is kind of how that happened. So it is canonically well documented that the caretakers have technology and power beyond the scope of what anybody else has. They just don't use it for anything other than to protect the conduit.
Yeah.
But yeah, bad galactic superpowers get the get along EMP.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
You said Remy had a question. I missed it.
Yes. He
I
says,
see.
I don't know if y'all have answered this before, but now being 3 seasons deep and learning about all the different species of aliens, if your character wasn't the species they were, what would you want them to be?
That's very cool. That's a cool question.
I actually did think about this a couple weeks ago, and I thought it'd be really cool to have the Mason thing aesthetic, but with an Orzai, 4-armed Orzai detective.
It'd be so cute.
That would be so cool. I thought about this
Or Orzai-ify the whole cast just because it's funny. I think my second was always Lumnian.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be really cool to be a Nelfin just because I think they're really interesting and I want to know more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would be playing a totally different character. I don't think Bina would ever have been a Lumnian. I think they would have been a totally different character, but yeah, Lumnian was my second.
Oops, all Orzai.
Oops, all Orzai. Yes.
Very good.
We all just are empaths.
Mm-hmm. Could you imagine?
Oh man, I'd have too much fun with that.
It's so much fun, you guys. I do have I spent, I think, XP for it or something, where I have like a long-term benefit of Orzai crew. I get an asset anytime I'm working with other empaths.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh man.
I'm just thinking about one shot that's just a bunch of just an all Orzai crew.
Yeah.
Like...
I would definitely want to play like an Orzai like detective and delve more into like the side of being a detective that is trying to like isn't so gritty and hard and be more like trying to genuinely wants to help businesses or private citizens like and try to
cute
and not just be like well you know what, you should have known this was happening, and be more like, I'm really sorry, can I help, can is there anything I can do extra, like, you know, just be more like friendly and more like
I mean,
helpful.
you could still be a shithead Orzai. We've met one before. But, like,
true, but you know,
you're just used to being a
it's gonna be a grumpy Orzai. We'll just be the 7 dwarves.
If we ever go to the Orzai homeworld, I'm sure we'll meet a grumpy Orzai. I feel like that's just inevitable.
See, now I'm wondering like what the job of an Orzai detective would look like, right? Like on their homeworld, you know? Because like,
ooh, yeah,
it's interesting.
Orzai homeworld is an interesting place.
Yeah.
The level of connection and communication that everyone has with each other all the time would like boggle the minds of like non-empaths.
Would you even need a private eye?
I think you would, but your job would be so different than
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I don't know enough.
Because the thing is, like, Orzai, like, it's not that they wouldn't commit crimes or anything like that, but crime is probably pretty low because of the whole, like, empath thing, you know?
It's like you have to experience the emotions of the people you're wronging.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's like you said, it's not that there's zero crime. It's just that I think it works differently.
Yeah.
Like it is such a blunt society. Like people like you can't like people like lying isn't really culturally lying. You don't do
it's
that.
Also
it's
really
weird.
Interesting because there probably are like emotional crimes, right?
Yes.
Like ones where like people weaponize their emotions again, like right, like.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's what I was trying to think of. I was like, what would be an empath's crime?
Right, and like that's a thing that people do in real life already. It just doesn't look the way it does with Orzai, right? With Orzai, it would be like a direct, like you are now feeling directly my emotions being used as a weapon, right? Like
I am overwhelming your senses while someone else does something in the back. Like I also just want to say when Olivia said, what would an empath crime be? My immediate thought was tax fraud, but that's not true. That was just not related. But anyways, yeah, it is. I spent so long thinking about like Orzai, like what that type of society looks like. It's so weird and interesting. Like I said, there's still crime. There's still people who are shitty, but it's just like I feel like you have to be at a certain level of like at least mildly conscientious of the people around you because you have to experience how you made them feel.
And then like that gets us into really interesting conversations about like what sociopathy looks like in
Yeah.
Orzai, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's fascinating.
Weird, right?
I don't know enough
It's
about
such a-
psychology to be able to like
I don't
Mhm.
either.
think about that, but it is an
Ugh.
interesting question.
I love there's two really good comments. There's a few really great ones in chat right now.
Yeah.
Empathic society but criminal, you'd feel the person's shoplifting need.
Mm.
Suing for emotional damages has a different context. Empaths can have a little tax fraud as a treat.
Good.
Gemini says, imagine having a sociopathic Orzai. Yeah,
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people who are born without as strong or at all empathic
Mm-hmm.
like abilities. Like there are there's so much variation in like Orzai biology that like that would make sense that happen. I'm sure it's rare, but I'm sure it happens.
Right. Also, hi, Cypher Unlimited. Thank you so much for the raid.
Hi.
Welcome on
Hello.
in. We have just to give you a heads up as to what's going on right now, what you've raided into. Drac was not feeling super well tonight, so we decided to take the last tail end of our game tonight to do a little impromptu game Q&A. So we're just hanging out talking about Infinite Horizon. So if anybody has questions about our little like sci-fi supers TTRPG, Cypher System RPG, you can feel free to ask. It doesn't have to be about the current season. You can ask all kinds of
Ask
questions.
anything. Like right now we're talking about something that has not really ever become relevant, but
No,
it's just
not
in
at
the
all.
world building.
Yeah.
This is great. It's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, and if you need some context, there's a command that should link
Yes.
you to oh gosh, what was the command?
Is it guide?
It might be. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. That'll link you to a doc that gives a basic overview of what the game is about.
Yes.
So,
And
yeah.
if you ever want to talk about empathic society or Orzai, just tweet at me. I will talk about it all goddamn day. I love it so much. I think it's so interesting.
Yeah, or just like at Caitlin in the Discord, because
Yeah, that's too. I'm around. I
Yeah.
lurk. I'm a lurker in
Mhm.
Discords, but I see
Yeah.
see everything.
you can. Rumor has it that you can draw Caitlin out of the shadowy crevices that she hides in with conversations about empathic society.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that really what they say?
Yes. Yeah. It's written in the Caitlin lore, the old
Yeah.
texts, the ancient texts.
I saw another question a little while ago.
Yes, I saw.
Yeah, it's from Rose, I think.
Yeah, which of the
Yeah.
current major antagonists do y'all personally find most threatening?
I mean, Oneira is scary as shit. I'm obsessed with her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
Yeah, I mean, I like current. I mean, I feel like last season Easy was like the that monster. I don't even want to invoke that that creature. But this season Oneira is definitely the scariest, just because like she's pretty
Just
unpredictable, and we don't really know what she's doing, and I'm afraid.
Okay, now I'm being baited in chat right now. So rude. Consider an empathic immortal Orzai. Don't even talk to me right now.
Stop! You're targeting Caitlin.
Guess what? In Caitlin's upcoming game, you'll be able to play that.
You
I think that would be a really like tragic story. Like that would be like they're already like suffering enough.
I know. I mean, I don't really know what Venus' current state is now that she is literally made of light. We never really figured out what that means. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating, right? The fact that like I know we're talking about Orzai again. Like the idea that like right having a species of empaths, right? Right off the bat, you're like, oh, okay, well then they're super compassionate, but not necessarily, because imagine being empathic and having to feel every like even like the ugly emotions that people have, like their like ugly impulses and whatever. Like like an Orzai living like that, living amongst like other people for a long time, probably eventually would become super jaded, very cynical.
mhm.
Like
I think
I think that would be a fascinating character.
it's so interesting because I always like trying to like get in the mindset of like an empath who's always been an empath surrounded by empaths. Like it's like that is just another sense. That's the same thing as sight, sound, or people. What are we talking?
I saw it too.
My personal enemy is the lesbian miscommunication.
I mean, we could bring that into anytime.
Mm-hmm. But like I always think of the empathic ability. It's just another sense that they have, and it is so it's the same as touch, like hearing, sight, taste. Like it's the same thing to them. It is so mundane that it's just how they experience the world. I remember a while ago someone was talking about how like someone had mentioned something like, oh, well, Bina's always like wants to respect people's privacy, but then she asks for people's emotions. I'm like, yeah, because that's how she communicates. That's not to her, that's not invasive. To her, that's base level how she perceives the world and perceives people. Like at all times she's perceiving people's emotions. I have to ask sometimes to like, hey, can Caitlin know what Bina's feeling? Because I don't. But it is interesting. And now this is making me think about what we said, like if someone was born without an empathic ability, like the empathic ability, like would you think of that like people who are anosmic, whatever, where you are born without a sense of smell or something like is that like, or does it feel more detrimental living in that society? Like would that be considered like a disability? Like that's how like I don't know.
Interesting.
Like in my head, this is such like a core part of their community and their culture and like how they socially relate to each other. Like, I don't know, like how.
I mean, yeah, it would be a little bit like
they would probably leave the home world.
Yeah,
honestly,
I mean,
right? Like they wouldn't want to be there.
You'd feel really disconnected.
Yeah, it's like it is a part in a way. It's part of their language too, you know. And so like, imagine not like being somewhere where you are like in part of being in a culture that you are of that culture, but you not only are you incapable of speaking the language, but you are incapable of learning the language.
You can't.
It's just impossible.
When we were first designing Orzai, when I was like first like brainstorming like all of the things, I had described the empathic part of their communication as like they had like a two-toned communication. It's like a double frequency that they're always communicating, because you can like hear them, you can talk with your words, but there's always that secondary level of understanding. There's like mental affirmatives and like the equivalent of a nod or a shaking your head no, but they do it like through their brains. Like it's such, you're missing half of your ability to communicate with the rest of the world. Like so weird.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking of like Orzai ASL, but for emotions, like how like tone
how would that be
indicators,
communicated?
like a secondary tone indicator for, because everyone around you just so used to you, like, oh, I'm like, you know, you'd be like, say something, feeling happy right now, like
emojis.
It's like emojis, like how oh my god, this is gonna turn into a thing that I think about for the next 4.5 weeks. Like I can't. Anyways, I know that's relevant to anything, but you guys, I love Orzai so much.
Yeah.
Oh, Tuesday. I wonder if that Orzai's job is to go through crowds on the home planet and just send out positive vibes. Crowd control, but like.
Wow. Oh man. Yeah. Super fascinating.
All Orzai like emotional stuff is way more mundane than what Bina can do. We joke Bina's super Orzai. She has all of her empathic abilities are like heightened, but all Orzai have the ability to receive and, you know, receive emotions from people around them.
Yeah. This conversation is interesting, right? Because we're talking about Orzai, because they definitely have one of the most fascinating like abilities, right? But there are other species whose kind of have interesting abilities that we never really talk about, right? Like for instance, Anzalonians can like see a little bit into the infrared spectrum, which means that they actually can sort of sense sort of changes in body temperature and things like that, like, which I think is fascinating, because imagine like I have to imagine that would make Anzalonians really, really well suited towards like being like medical professions and stuff like that, right? Because and like one of the reasons we talked about early on, Peach being a politician, is like you were talking about like, oh yeah, and she can, you know, sense sort of like see the like changes in people's temperature as their like you know, emotions and dispositions change and stuff like that.
Like that would be very well suited to that kind of thing. Yeah.
it's just a different level of like
Mhm.
understanding the people around you
Yeah.
in like a similar vein, but totally different flavors. Like it's so cool. There are a lot of like things that we don't get to talk about like
Yeah.
on the show because we're like plot, but then there's like we have all this world building stuff that's like built in.
Yeah. Also, yeah, Ellie says, makes me wonder about their medical professionals, Orzai. How effective are the doctors to a patient that is feeling crippling agony? Wouldn't they be affected by the same agony? Yeah, that's really interesting. I think my guess, this is kind of a little bit what we talked about with Orzai, is that they're not feeling it like emotions as if, yeah, they're not feeling it as if it's their own. They're feeling it in the same way, like, you know how when you talk and you hear your own voice, and it's like it's not the same thing as hearing somebody else's voice.
Mhm.
It's different, right? Because you're not hearing it inside of your head.
Mhm.
You're hearing it from outside, and so it's a little bit that, I think.
It's hearing. It's like, but not like speak it. Like you're not the one having the thought. You know, like you understand what's being said to you, but you're not the one who decided to say it. That's how I would kind of describe it. It's and I remember we talked a while about like Orzai going off world to be like counselors, like taking their careers elsewhere because people who aren't empaths like find it much more impressive. Like
Also, Rose makes an excellent point that Abriel hecking knows you when you have a fever and still refuse sick bay.
you
Oh
know,
yeah, she does.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
She
Abriel
does
totally
indeed.
knows. Oh,
How
God.
would they know?
How would they know? How would they know? They don't know. No one would
They
know.
don't know.
She can literally just look at you and be like, "You've got a fever. Go to sick bay."
Yep. I'm trying to think of what other funky stuff. There's like Bakuvians.
Bakuvians are interesting because they have sort of like involuntary sort of shape shifting, not quite shape shifting, but it's like basically like
Adaptation.
yeah, more like an adaptation where they basically adapt to the needs of their group, because Bakuvians are herd creatures, right? Like they evolved from herd animals, ones that had developed such an acute sense of the needs of the many that they actually evolved the ability to change their shape depending on what those needs are.
Mm-hmm. And it is part. I don't think any of it's fully voluntary. I think it's mostly involuntary.
Yeah. It's mostly
They're very fun.
involuntary.
We spent a lot of time reworking their whole thing, but it's like another level of like societal impact and like being connected to each other on a totally different level, where like you literally change form and ability to like protect, defend, and serve your community. They're really cool too. We haven't really had much interaction with Bakuvians. They're pretty secular, but secluded.
One of my favorite facts about the Bakuvians is the fact that like there is a position of status within their culture and society, right? Because essentially back when they were still largely a pre-modern society, back when they were basically a pre-modern society, they had, as sort of part of their defense mechanisms, there were a small number, like I think we said like 1 in 50 or something like that, that would sort of shift to take on a much more like guardian sort of thing. So like their back plates and things like that would like expand over their body. They would become harder and denser. They would evolve like basically like claws and stuff like that. And what that was for is to essentially be as like, for when predators were chasing them, those would be the ones who were designated by the whatever needs, like evolutionary needs, to defend the herd from those predators while the herd escaped. And now in a modern society, in this sort of very advanced society, that still happens, but there's no longer a need for it. So the position is a much more ceremonial one than anything else. So a little bit how like humans, our lizard brain still produces like adrenaline during like things like public speaking, right?
Yeah, right.
Still produces
I'm not ready. I don't need to fight someone right now, but my brain thinks I might.
Exactly. Like it's the same kind of thing, but like in a
I imagine like a Bakuvian with that like gene in like a really stressful situation. A Bakuvian with anxiety and that gene just like suddenly like
No.
I imagine like in wartime, I'm sure that comes out. Like if like there was like great duress like all the time, oh my god, currently right now, I imagine there are a bunch of Bakuvians who reached that status just because it got stressful combat time when they weren't expecting it, and it just like tweaked out their whole biology.
Oh, yeah.
Those poor guys, they don't even get their little party for it. They don't get their little Bakuvian quinceanera. Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm in love with the phrase Bakuvian quinceanera.
Yeah,
does
it's
that,
really
have to
good.
go on the list?
It's really good.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. It does need to be on the list.
Oh, they don't get their little. It's war and occupation time. They don't get a party. Oh. Bakuvians are really cool. We spent a lot of time like fighting with them until like they finally like became this thing that's very endearing to me now.
Yeah.
And Bakuvians can become like, if they don't even have to be like, these dynamics aren't 100% with other Bakuvians. So if like a Bakuvian is on like a crew, like a mixed crew, they will still adapt to the needs of like their community, like whatever community, like if that whatever community they've bonded with, like they'll still have like these same biological responses to the needs of their current community. So like you'll have like a crew, like a tight knit like ship crew, and there's a Bakuvian who will still like have the same adaptive responses, which is cool.
They also as a result of this, they also tend not to have surnames. They tend to take on like this they take on a herd. They take on a herd name, and when their herd, so to speak, is not a Bakuvian one, like if they're serving on ships and the like, then they take on the name of the ship as their surname.
Yeah. I think we talked about like a ship or like a captain if they're endeared to like the captain's last like
that's why
that.
that's why the chief engineer on the Bellerophon last season what like the surname was Bellerophon. Because of that.
That
took on the name of
sense.
their community of their herd.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't it cute? They're so cool. I like them a lot.
Yeah.
I think what else do we have? We have other Nelfin, the way that they adapt to their environments.
Right. And that's a much more like long-term adaptation. Yes. That's more
and that's like evolutionary.
Yes. It's like sped up evolutionary processes essentially.
Yeah.
Where they
found family on steroids. Yes.
Kind of.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Nelfin have their fun, like it's a rapid evolutionary thing to like exist on different climates, planets. That's why Nelfin are so varied, because they can exist almost anywhere.
It's also why they're so populous, because they can basically be anywhere.
Yeah.
Like other than like the most extreme like uninhabitable kind of like they would never be like, they can adapt but like only within limits still. Like they still need all of the like, they wouldn't be able to like adapt to just like a demon planet, for instance, right? Like
anywhere life can adapt, they will fit. Their biology can eventually fit to
provided they can live there long enough to do that, actually adapt.
Yes.
So like there is a limitation in there. So
Mason is an elfin with his adaptive power.
Mason,
that'd be elfin with the adaptive power.
That'd be bizarre.
Mason is like a super Nelfin.
Yes.
True. It would probably just be like, meh.
How Bina is super Orzai. If Mason was a Nelfin, it would be the exact same thing. Like that power set would be the natural, like the progression of like super Nelfin. It's exactly
you could fly even more.
Volcano fumes are nourishing.
You eat lava for breakfast.
Yes, and dinner, but not for lunch.
The forbidden taffy. Lava, the forbidden. Or what was it? The forbidden Fanta?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else we got. I'm trying to have all our little guys.
Yeah. Abilities.
This is way back in chat, but I love that. I don't know who it was. I think it was Gemini Lightning accidentally called Caretakers Keepers. That's a power play thing. That's B's character is a keeper.
That's cool. That's keepers are also a Mass Effect thing.
Oh yeah, the keepers.
They are.
Right.
They definitely did. And the keepers from Mass Effect did heavily influence like the caretakers in Infinite Horizon.
Yeah, I thought about them when we first met them. Yeah.
There's actually a lot of stuff from. Let's see, when we when we talked about this, like when we first started developing the world for Infinite Horizon, our main influences.
So long ago now.
Yeah, our main influences were like were Mass Effect, The Expanse, and like a little bits and pieces of Star Trek and Firefly.
And whatever my little pop culture void of a brain decided to throw in there, because I didn't know any of the references that you guys had built in.
Yeah. So.
Star Trek, I knew. Diet Romulans.
Diet
I think that was my first contribution to the list.
Yes, I think it was. Yeah, so let's see.
I love our little universe.
Anything else anyone wants to add real quick before we wrap up?
Oh yeah, we've just
yeah. Any last questions, or anybody here have a question? Any of y'all have questions?
What other if everyone had to go pretend to do someone's job like we've just done now, we've all infiltrated Mason's job, and we've had to put on Mason regalia, what would be your ideal if you had to, like, if all of us had to dress like someone else in the party? So like all of us had to go pretend to be politicians with Peach, or everyone had to go get into like engineers jumpsuits with Vina, or like a Tan probably would, but maybe their suit, their exosuits, maybe. I don't know we're already revolutionaries, so I'm not really like what would be your ideal heist based on someone else in the party's occupation or lifestyle? I'm obsessed with what we're doing right now. I think it is so funny.
Well, this one's pretty fun.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I think my number 2 would be if we all had to go to pretend to be politicians. I think that would be so funny.
I think that
is that not most of what Infinite Horizon has been?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like most of us are like, I don't know what I'm doing. But if all of us had to go in and be like, yes, I'm politician. Deal or no deal, sir. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just walking like, how do you do, fellow kids? Like,
yes, exactly.
I feel like it'd be such a hot mess. I feel like that would be so bad.
Exactly. 100%.
Oh, you guys would look so cute though in your outfits, because Peach would have you dressed up.
If we were all gonna go get
Peach
into
finally
Anzalonian.
gets her shopping episode.
Yes. Like, I'm just another thing we've talked about a bunch, but we haven't gotten to show off is Anzalonian high fashion.
That's what I mean. Whenever I'm like, Peach dresses as extra as possible at all times, like that's what I mean.
If you Google or like Pinterest, like architectural fashion, like architectural runway fashion, this gigantic geometric, like huge ruffles made of like wire and like giant, like that's what they just wear. Like, like that's business attire.
Yeah.
I would love all of us in that.
I remember that day when we got really, really into like trying to figure out what the aesthetics were, and so then it was just you, me, and John in writer's room, just like throwing out all these like different images photos. And whatever, and Colin,
like 2 hours.
And then Colin, who was not part of that writer's room,
but was in the chat though.
He was just there, like, okay, hi.
Getting 100 pings from us sending just unhinged fashion to each other. Yeah, it was great.
Oh man, that'd be so fun. And the thing too is like, I feel like Peach she goes into like the politician mode sometimes, but I feel like it's very different than how she did before her powers. So I even think the combo would be very bizarre.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw
back like fully.
I did see a question. Unless Freeman, you had one for that too.
That answer takes the cake for me.
Yeah. Rose said, since this is the first time this season we've had a Q&A, what's the coolest moment Lucas, and John have created so far for this season?
Ooh, hold on, I have to look through my notes because I get one every episode, obviously. Like every episode, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite thing that's happened so far, and then the next episode, I'm like, oh, fuck, this is my favorite thing that's happened.
Yeah, I'm trying to look
how to choose.
I know.
I don't know how to choose.
Getting the orbital mirror up like made me irrationally excited. Like it wasn't even like plot. Like it was like it was just like, happening, things that were happening. And I cannot tell you how fucking psyched I was that we got the orbital mirror up on the theocracy of Zen space. Like, just unreasonably excited. Sometimes I think I like embody being it too hard because I'm getting excited about technical jargon that like means nothing in real life. Like, That whole scene was very fun. And
I
then
think
the
that
little
means you're
snowball fight
winning
after.
at the game.
I'm winning Cypher system.
because you're having fun.
Listen, there's not a way to win Cypher, but I think Caitlin is winning Cypher.
Yeah.
Yes. Put that on my
Oh.
freaking resume.
One at Cypher.
One Cypher.
Invented a way to win at Cypher and then fucking did it.
Mhm. I
Oh,
also have
no.
written here, I have no idea what this is in reference to. Beginning of session 60. Angst for dinner.
I don't know. Could really refer to
I
anything.
suspect that was the awkward like Taeyeon Ada like
Yes.
at
Good.
family dinner. Yeah.
I love that.
I know this is just a scene. I don't know if Lucas said you'd plan this out of time or anything, but I still think about that scene with Ada and Taeyeon where he's like, I can't lie to you or whatever, and she's like, I don't know why you want to. Like that line by you, every time I think about it, I'm just like devastated all over again.
Sometimes I hate that I can't lie to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder why you'd want to.
yeah,
I
that
hope
line.
one day we run out of wars for you to fight.
yeah, those
Gets
two
me
fucking
every
lines.
time. Ugh.
Those I was really, this is bad that maybe this was a good moment, but I when all those ships, when we blew up all those ships, I know we did that, but also like I thought that was a really cool moment, and just like visually like what happened was just really interesting, and I was
just getting informed that there were 6 capital ships coming into the system.
that
Made me,
whole
like,
arc.
want a yards. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because that was one of the moments where I was like genuinely like, I don't know how we're gonna get out of this one. Like I was like, we'll
Really
figure it
good.
out, but I don't
Really
know
good.
how.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Also, just to get back at what you were saying, Olivia, that scene was not planned. It was just sort of like there was a scene that like you were talking, like Peach went to talk to Taeyeon, and then I was like, I mean, there's really only one thing here that makes sense.
I was
to
so
happen.
hoping you'd do it.
Yeah.
I was like, I think Lucas is gonna do it. If I have a scene with Taeyeon, I think Ada's gonna interrupt. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, I just knew.
Good,
No, none of
good.
that. I didn't plan any of that. That just sort of happened.
Good.
But
And that's why you're an amazing GM. Take that.
like all of you make it really easy to play off of you, right? Like even in this episode, I can directly point to like with Mason talking with Iselik being like, so how's the lady friend? And I'm just like, fuck you, and like
You're so good.
right, like
there's just a dynamic that's easy to slide into here.
like yeah.
Ooh.
I definitely, yeah. I like Iselik a lot. Captain Iselik,
do.
Mm-hmm.
that's such a cool character. And like, I love getting to know them, even though I've known them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Yes,
this is
yes,
so much
and
of
I
my
like-
backstory, but
I
now
like
I'm,
that Mason-
riffing off of it.
Yeah. It's getting to like go back in. We get to see this tie that he has in his past. Like it's so juicy. I'm like,
It's
oh,
so
Mason.
I say
Learning
it
about
all
you.
the time, but every time we get Mason lore, I'm like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Everyone else shut the fuck up. I no one talk to me.
You know, we were just
sitting.
sitting there like silently, like, give us some more.
I think Olivia and I have talked about this before, but like every time it happens, we're like, yes, Mason lore. Yes. Like it is so good. It's always so good. Ugh. I love it.
Thank
You need to remember that you have a
And thank you,
stimulate. You
Lucas,
have
and
a
thank you,
you have a
Ashley
3
John.
asset.
How long does that last?
No, it doesn't tell anyone until it's used, I think.
Forever.
I also was gonna add when we found out that Miris was from that we had saved her.
That's right.
That was really cool.
So
That was
I love
really cool.
Miris.
What's fun about that
Oh,
is like I
so
think in that
cool.
episode you mentioned, Caitlin, that's like, oh wow, this is the first time that we're seeing like a direct like
Yeah.
positive consequence of our actions. And like the funny thing about that is in no way is that what I was thinking when I like did that. In no way was I thinking that. So like when you said it, I was also realizing that. I was like, oh, hey, yeah.
It's almost like you're just like a really good storyteller and like you build things into your stories that like you subconsciously understand, and then when they come out, even you get to be surprised by your own genius. How's that?
Sure.
But no, really
sure, we'll
cool.
take it.
Yeah, good. But yeah, I was really like that made me really emotional. I don't know if I said it on stream or if it was afterwards, but I was like, we've only gotten to see the fallout in like usually a negative connotation, like breaking people out of their, bonds and stuff. That's still a good thing, but we had to, we were rescuing someone, or like we're being called terrorists, or like the city got glassed. Like or our thing got taken over, or like people we love are going to be in danger. Like all of it's been bad, but like seeing this one person we saved is reconstructing a society and a community in a place where that shouldn't be able to flourish because she had a chance to. And like that
Ooh.
made me so emotional. Like that is so cool. Like this is the first time we're seeing the echo in a good way.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I love it.
Or in like a very like personal, interesting, because like we've done things and like gone to people and they've been like, we've known your actions, we'll join your
Yeah.
fight or
Yeah.
whatever. But this is like the first
This is a
one of
direct.
the, yeah.
Yeah. It's so cool. I love this game.
Oh,
All right, I think
Okay.
that's a good note to end on. So we're gonna head out. Thank you all so much for hanging out, for watching tonight, for asking us some questions this evening, and
For listening to me info dump. I haven't talked to anyone in 3 days. Can we tell?
well, and yeah. So just thanks for being here, everybody, for our last 8th episode ever. I'm sorry,
There it
Caitlin
is.
is gonna murder
I'm
me.
gonna- I step out of my camera frame and into yours.
Yeah, nothing personnel, kid. And
Whoa!
Just knock punch through the screen.
Welcome to the rainy weather. It's like, yeah, okay.
All right, everybody. We are going
Feeling
to
really chaotic
head.
right now.
We're gonna head out. Remember that Ramblemancy this week is Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Join us then for Skyrim nostalgia hours on the around the 10th anniversary of its release, and also the 30th anniversary of Freeman's birth.
Whoa, happy birthday.
So,
Womb Emancipation Day.
Ooh, Scorpio.
so yeah, join us on Friday for both of those very good reasons.
Crazy.
And yeah, we'll see you around next week for all kinds of shenanigans. I promise the Mass Effect streams will start The Mass Effect community nights in the Discord will start up again soon. There's just been a lot going on back behind the scenes,
Yes.
some of which will be announced soon.
Get ready.
Not even soon
Y'all.
TM, just
Just
soon.
very soon.
Wow, I can't wait to find out.
Y'all, just get hype in your mind. Prepare a space for hype because ooh, it's so cool. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Ye- ye.
Hashtag thanks a ton.
Yeah.
Oh wow, haven't heard that one in a while.
Whew.
Todd coward. Anyways,
And don't
That's a
I
forget-
have
good
strong
note.
feelings about Skyrim or Bethesda.
All right, everybody. We will see you soon. Please, if you are not already, you should join us in the Discord where you can have all kinds of conversations like this very one. Talking about Infinite Horizon or any of the number of other things we do. That's what I'm going to plug tonight. That's all I'm going to leave us with because we are moving on to the late side. We got to go. But yeah, everyone, we will hopefully see you on Friday for Ramblemancy and Freeman's birthday. But if not, we'll see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night and good zone, everybody.
Good night, everybody.